Morning again.
Good morning.
Don't I always have like just a little head on the screen? I need to sort my angles out.
You know what? Actually had to move my computer like way back because otherwise you've just got like boom, my big face.
Well, at least it's better than having half a head like I have, or just a head, like a little floating head above the screen here.
I think I had breakfast in my mouth.
Was it nice the second time round?
Yeah, it was lovely.
So we've had a busy week, haven't we? I'm shattered, Lisa. I'm absolutely exhausted.
I know you have actually had a really busy week. You've said we, but I've not really been as busy as you this week. You have been everywhere. If nobody knows Alexandria Walker by now, then where have you been?
I love the fact that you just gave me my full name, because yesterday when I went on the news, and I know this is not going to be yesterday when you're hearing this, it's COA week at the moment, so this will go out in a few weeks, but yesterday in real time, I was on the news, on Euro News, and she said, "Morning, Alexandra," and I said, "Let me just stop you." It's got an I in it, Alexandria. Can you please make sure the spelling? That has been the story of my life, hasn't it?
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think you use your full name enough because it's a beautiful name, like Alexandria. It's different. Like I'm really
Also a
sorry if there's
massive
any
mouthful.
Alexandras listening. That's beautiful too. But I just think yours is more beautiful because it's the ear. It's nice, but yeah, been a bit of a bane for you, hasn't it? It's my Beth has the same because it's Bethany with an IE at the end.
Yeah.
I instantly judge if people have it with a Y. Is that weird?
If people write hers with a Y.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it gets me every time, and I've been doing it for years, and I think that's why I dropped it, because when I was little, I used to insist that everybody called me Alexandria for years. And I think I just got worn down by the Alexandra lovers.
Oh no, it's so lovely. Do you remember when we did that coaching course and we got our certificates at the end, and then he said to you, "Oh, what a lovely name." And
Oh,
I remember thinking it does look more special on a certificate than like
you're so funny.
Lisa. That's like, Mom, what were you thinking?
But you see, I'm jealous of your surname, because Ellsworth is a beautiful name. I know it's not your birth name, but it is a beautiful name.
Yeah, but I deserve this last name, right? Because
I always want to call you Elsie now, though.
no, I grew up, my original birth name was Marshall, right? Which is all right. It's just like a normal
so I know
name. Then my mum remarried, right? And I can't even believe it. She married somebody called Lupton, right?
I don't see what's wrong with that name.
I don't like it. I've got anxiety thinking about it, and I know why.
Yeah, we won't talk about it if you don't want to. It's the nickname.
No, but I became Lisa Lupton, and then this girl who I've still never forgiven once called me Lippy Lupton, right? And
I didn't know if you were going to say it.
I still have trauma about it. Like I remember where I was sat. I remember like I was in the dining area at primary school, and it affected me that much. I can clearly remember everything about it, and I was so upset, and I hated that name. And then there was like a tea that was called Lipton tea, so everyone used to get it mixed up and call me like Lipton, which then reminded me of the Lippy Lupton, and it was just so traumatizing. Anyway, when I got married, what I might have done it just for his last name because it was so lovely. Anyway, then we got divorced and I kept it because I couldn't bear to go back to anything else.
Well, it's a lovely name, and that's one nice thing he's done for you, so thanks.
Yeah, thanks for your name, mate.
And three other things, of course, because you're beautiful children as well.
Yeah, now we've all got the same name, so that's nice.
Yeah, but at least it's better than what I got, Cook. I mean, don't get me wrong, respect to the cooks. Oh, well, who's speaking?
Siri wants to get involved.
Respect to the cooks with an E. There was the other thing.
Yeah.
Cook. So I was Alexandra Cook without an E. So I was always going, it's Alexandria and it's Cook with an E. Constantly. But that got changed to something really creative. I became Cookie Monster. I mean, you don't get much better than that, do you? That was just proper creative.
I wouldn't like that.
Well, you don't like lipping up, Tennessee, but
Oh, that's awful. Stop saying it.
I'll stop saying it. Anyway, let's move on to today, because that's a really weird conversation we've just had. Nothing to do with being sober, all about names. But yeah, I just want to say something. I feel like I've now got to put my makeup on this week because
Yeah, I've noticed you're a bit done up.
Yeah, well, the thing is, right, I did my interview on...
Is it in case you get recognised in the street?
Well, this is it, you know. No, but on Monday night, I did my makeup for the COAs, Understanding COAs in Isolation through Nicole with Kerry Walker, which we decided last night we might be related via our husbands because they're both from Birmingham. Another story.
Oh.
Yeah, that'd be weird, wouldn't it? I don't think we
Yeah.
are. And then I did the morning show, so I thought, well, I can't go on TV without a bit of lipstick on. But now I thought, well, I can't underdo myself for my own podcast with my bestie. So yeah, lots of effort going in. It'll
You know
last.
what? Never ever excuse yourself for putting makeup on and dressing up. Like, it's always all
I'm
right.
not dressed up. I'm in a stripy t-shirt and joggers. But anyway, today's guest.
Yes, our lovely Dawn.
Yeah, Dawn Comolly, which is it is an unusual surname because we thought she was Connolly for ages, and she's Comolly with an M in. Dawn
Oh,
Comolly. Yeah,
well, I didn't know that.
Isn't that
I will
beautiful?
redo the artwork immediately.
Oh, yeah, Dawn Comolly. It's a lovely name, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely.
And yeah, she's the Soberfish and has a huge following across social media. The Soberfish Followers Society, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, that wow did not come across right. I did actually mean wow, like as in.
I'm so worried that, you know, when we did the sober sessions with Dawn, like,
Yeah.
I did not spell her name like that on our artwork.
No, you did, because I corrected it then as well.
Well, you could have told me.
Well, no, I didn't actually change it. I told you to change it, and you definitely did change it.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, you were probably
That's a
busy doing
teacher coming
300
out, if you
things.
noticed. I corrected it then as well. Thanks, miss.
You're welcome, patroniser.
No, that was you being the patronising teacher. You can't fire that back.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't point it out, did I? Yeah, someone did.
Yeah, you just then.
Look at that on air.
That's gone. Get Dawn on. Come on, save us, Dawn.
Right, let's bring her in. She's coming in. Weird this, because we're bringing her in actually live now. We're not even stopping or pausing like we normally do. So she knows. She does know. I've actually told her that she's good. There you go. Hi, Dawn.
Hey.
Hello. Good morning.
So we've just experimented with you. We just want you to know we've experimented on bringing you in without pausing and hoping that you unmuted, which you have.
I was muted and I had no video either. So I had to
Well, you
press
have
play.
now.
You're right.
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. This is really strange because do you remember when I said about being on here? And I think it was November,
Yeah.
maybe actually October. And whoever I was messaging, I think it was Alex.
No, it was me.
Was it you?
Yeah.
And you said, oh, the date's in February, but don't worry about it. And it's February.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's like gone really quickly to that point.
It actually has, and we've forgotten just how quick it's gone because we've had guests on the last couple of weeks and we've had to be dropping the messages going saying, are you still up for it? Are you still okay? Because it's been that long. And we didn't realise just how far in advance we were doing it, but it's gone majorly quick, really quick.
Yeah.
Because every day is the same, isn't it?
And you're like famous now. You're on like the news and everything.
It's like, we've just been talking about this. We're like, if you don't know who Alex is now, then where have you been?
I found that fascinating. Well, just the statistics and just the whole subject. I mean, just scary, isn't it? Really
she actually
scary.
got it wrong. She said 1 million children, over 1 million children. It's closer to 3 million children.
It's 2.6 to be
2.6,
precise. I
yeah.
should be next to you when you're on the news, giving you nudges for this.
Yeah, no, she didn't get it wrong. She when she introduced it, she said
No.
over 1 million people, 1 million children in the UK. And I was thinking, oh, do I go straight in and start being arrogant and say actually it's 2.6? Better not. But yeah, it was a really nice experience, and it thankfully for my first one on the news, they didn't ask me anything personal, you know, like about my own story, because I'm not there yet, like news wise. I can talk about it on podcasts because only people who want to know about me will listen. But if you're on the news and you're sort of telling it, it's there, isn't it then?
Yeah.
She look like a newsreader, Dawn. Like, I actually think she's made, like, Alex was brought up, like, doing on the stage, wasn't you? Anyway.
Yeah.
So she absolutely, I know how much, like, she'll be excited. Everybody else would be shitting themselves, where Alex gets quite excited. But even Beth said, you look like you should be on the news.
Yeah, like a natural. You were a natural.
I was actually nervous though, because when I came off, well, I don't know whether I was nervous or excited or a bit of both, but when I came off, I was actually shaking. But the last question that she asked me really threw me, because she said, what support is out there for the parents? Now, in my Be Sober hat, I can answer that, no problem. Yeah, come over here. There's a huge sober community over here. But in my Nakoa hat, of course, I can't endorse anyone, not even Be Sober. So I was really out of my comfort zone. It threw me massively. They didn't prepare me for that at all. So it was quite mean.
Me and Joe were like saying, just say Be Sober and say it were nerves. Like, Be Sober.
So no, I won't do that. But
no, I think you did really well, and I think it's really important. I think it's something that's forgotten, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, everybody's so just like dealing with their own little bubble that you're not really thinking. I hadn't really thought outside the box actually until I read or saw your interview, and I was just kind of like, God, I hadn't even thought about that, because I think we've all gone so insular, haven't we? We're just all thinking so small, and for some people this is just horrendous.
It really is, you know, like, and I did say this on a different interview this week, and I talk about this all the time. My family upbringing, I wasn't abused. I saw violence, but I wasn't abused in any way. And actually, my family loved me very, very much, and I loved them. But still, to have been, if this had been my childhood and lockdown, it would have been awful. It would have been actually awful. There'd have been nowhere to go. You wouldn't have been able to see the trusted adults that you can speak to. You'd have been literally watching the process of the first glass of wine being poured to annihilation. It would have been horrific. And they've actually worked out there's over 10,000 children now with no one. They're not speaking to anyone. They've got no teachers, they've got no family, they've got no friends, they're too embarrassed to talk about it. And based on the research, over 10,000 alone stuck in houses with alcoholic or alcohol dependent families. It must be terrifying. And like I say, I was lucky. My family loved me, and I was looked after, and I was still dressed properly, and we didn't have a lot of money, but I still had what I needed, my basic needs. Some of these children are providing the basic needs.
You know what, as well, it'll be, thinking about it, it'll be brand new to some children, this, because of the effects that lockdown has had on people. You know, there's so many that didn't even have alcohol issues maybe before lockdown, but now do. So it'd be like a brand new experience to some, so they wouldn't even be aware of where to go or how to get help, or even, you know, it just must be really, really, like you say, awful.
And then from our training, Lisa, we got the flip side of that as well, Dawn, whereas people might stop drinking in lockdown, which we know has happened, because you've no doubt had an increase in people joining your membership. I know we have, you know, so you've got people stopping drinking. That changes the roles as well, because a child that has formerly been, you know, kind of cooking dinners or looking after a sibling or whatever, now suddenly the parents back with it and doing all that, and they're like, well, what hang on a minute, what's happened to me, where's my role? And that impacts them as well.
But I was also thinking about people, about children who are just, I mean, I say just, but just in a household where parents are drinking what they believe is normally, not being alcohol dependent. So you're saying statistics of alcohol dependent parents, but there's also parents out there, of course, who are thinking that their drinking is perfectly normal 7 days a week, starting at 2 o'clock. You know, and that's the problem as well, is because the children are then watching that and thinking that's normal. Whereas before they might not have seen their parents drinking, particularly because they go to bed, you know, they put the kids to bed and then do the drinking. But because it's become so normalized to drink at home because we're not going anywhere else, I think it's a whole nother ticking time bomb. You know, for us as kids, you know, I knew my parents drank, but it was kind of not in my eye line. You know, we would go to bed and then they'd drink, or we would go to bed and then they'd go out and drink. There wasn't this kind of sitting around getting drunk with your kids culture.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's going to be another thing, because all of these children are watching all of the time, aren't they?
Yeah, and they'll grow up believing that that is normal, as you've just said, you know, and that's where you get to, and that's what caused, when I look back, that is what allowed me to drink, because my normal was seeing, not every day by any means, but seeing a lot of drunken behaviours, seeing drinking in the house, seeing drinking be acceptable around me, and then of course feeling, well, I'm not as bad as my dad, so I can drink more because I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not like my dad was. So then, of course, you've got this benchmark that has already been set as normal. It's scary. It's really, really scary.
But I think we all use that benchmark, don't we? Throughout our whole lives.
With anybody.
With everything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm not that bad. So therefore, I don't think I really looked at people because I knew I was bad. But because I wasn't physically dependent on alcohol, that was I'm not physically dependent on it. I could do a week without it, but then not taking into account the amount that I then drank in a 2-day session, which was equivalent to what somebody had drunk every day of the week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm looking at some of your tweets now that you are reposting from years back, and I'm just thinking, Dawn, oh my God, it's like, oh yeah, nothing the world can't handle without a gallon of wine. But they're not jokes, are they?
No. Oh, what I'm reposting.
Yeah, that you're reposting that you
going
used
through my
to.
Twitter feed from like year 2000. Not that I had one.
No, I'm not that bad yet.
My memories are coming up, and I'm just making myself look a complete dick. Did you see the one the other day about the antibiotics?
I haven't. Tell me.
Oh, it said something like, it's amazing how, because some people had said some nice things about me. It's amazing how a few nice words, a large glass of red, when you're on antibiotics, in brackets, it's okay. I was literally like, kill me now. I was a dish. But I mean, there was always that thing, wasn't there? You had antibiotics and there was 2 versions, one you could drink on, and one you couldn't. You know, why did they even say that? Why would you even suggest that? Because the alcohol wipes out although you can drink on it, it wipes out the effect of the antibiotic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's okay. I'll just crack on. And I was also laughing because I was like, large glass. Yeah, right. There was me in 1 large glass of red. That meant bottle.
Yeah.
It is funny though, because I used to actually ask the doctor, can you drink on these?
Yeah.
Can you drink on these? Like, there was only one you really can't drink on, and I found that out the really hard way, and it's metronidazole, it's called, and after, you're not supposed to drink for 72 hours afterwards. So I didn't drink while I was on it. I thought, oh, right, 2 days later, I thought, well, 72 hours, that just must be a random arbitrary number. 72 hours, I'll be all right, I've been one. And I did only have 1 glass of wine, and I was vomiting for 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's apparently, you know, really, it'd be good if like all medicines made you do that, and then maybe it'd put you off.
How many times though would you hold off taking things to make yourself better, right, just because you wanted to drink at the weekend?
I forgot about that. You wouldn't you, drink all weekend and start taking them on the Monday?
Like, you'd be really poorly, actually really sick, and think, oh, I'm not taking them till Monday. Like, what the hell were we thinking?
I don't know, and so some of the things that pop up in memories, I just literally like, because I think the thing is, when you're drinking, it's such a focus, isn't it? That's all you talk about. That's all I talk about. Like, I've got photos like that come up on my memories of gin, and I was one of those people that now I have to flick past, because I'm literally like, I find the whole showing what you're drinking and eating, although I am guilty of that sometimes, but the whole showing what you're drinking when you're drinking poison, really bizarre now. Like, holding it up and going, I always say about, imagine it was a syringe of heroin. Would you be on a Friday night going, look at my shot that I'm just about to shoot up, and then I'm going to go to oblivion till tomorrow? You wouldn't do it. You'd look a real weirdo to do that. But every weekend, people are like, ching, ching, and showing. Valentine's Day was back. There were so many pink bottles
everywhere, wasn't it?
Pink bottles of Prosecco. people like, oh, look what, you know, because I've got this real thing
Yeah.
as well. I won't buy alcohol for people.
No,
As far as I'm concerned, the alcohol industry had enough of my money, that I'm done with that. But on the second phase of it was, I don't want to give poison to the people that I love.
Yeah.
I find it really odd now to think that I was buying bottles of this stuff for people who have potentially got an issue with it. So I just, the whole thing's just really quite strange, isn't it? Until you're out the other side, because when you're in it, you think it's perfectly normal.
Because it is, unfortunately.
I would go on holiday, right? There'd be this beautiful view, and I would position my glass like this. I'd get down with my camera, take a picture of this beautiful glass, and I would literally, I think I read it somewhere about, you give alcohol all the credit. You know, like, you've booked the flight, you're in a beautiful country. Hopefully you're with lovely people, but yet you give all this credit to this glass and the sun, and it's just ridiculous. It's mad.
Do you know my husband's nickname? Because I was talking the other day about you know, just things we used to do, and one of my tricks was, he's a foodie and I was a drinker, and he never really bothered. He'd have a drink, but just so that I didn't feel left out, and so he could get on the same level as me, because otherwise I was a nightmare wanting to put YouTube on and dance around the front room. He said, if I didn't drink to witness the sight that you thought was sexy, then I would have left you. So I used to go out and buy him like 4 cans of lager, a load of chocolate crisps, or order him a takeaway, just so that he didn't pick me up on my drinking. Anyway, we were talking the other night and saying about how I was a bit of a nightmare, and he's so glad I don't drink. And I was like, can you imagine now if I just said to you, right, go out and get me some wine? He was like, you think that I'd give you your psycho fuel? You must be joking. He said, I would actually, there's no way. I said, was I really that bad? He said, you were an absolute nightmare. He said, you'd start off, you'd be fine. I'd see your eyes going, I'd think, here she comes, the freaking beast is here. Like, and I'd just be horrible. I don't know what made me think I was having a nice time, is my point.
What kind of drunk were you, Dawn?
Cried a lot.
Did you?
I wasn't a dancer. It always makes me laugh when people talk about sober dancing, because I wasn't a drunk dancer either. I have no interest in dancing at any point, so I didn't do that. But my friends used to count the number of glasses of wine to know how close I was to an absolute meltdown. And it could be anything. In fact, I had not a lot to cry about, to be fair. Like, when I look back at it, I remember people saying, what are you crying about? Just being like, I have no idea. It just used to make me really emotional. And, you know, they used to count that. So I was all right, like, on glass 1, 2, and 3. But after that, the emotions kicked in. And I was also, you know, I'm quite good with words. I quite like texting when I was pissed. And and that was one of the reasons that I gave up, because I couldn't stand not being able to remember what I'd written, and I would write paragraphs. And then when we had the old Nokia phones, I used to believe that if I deleted them, not that I believed that if I deleted them, they'd be deleted from the person receiving them, but because I couldn't see them, I'd be like, oh, they've gone. And then the next day I'd end up getting responses and have to try and guess what I'd text to provoke the response that I'd got. So the whole thing was exhausting. And also like that coming round and thinking, oh God, I had no idea what happened. I have no idea, but I've got a feeling something bad happened. And, you know, and the phone would start bleeping and I was too scared to look at it. I mean, I would spend 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday refusing to look at my phone because I was scared of what was going to be on there. And I just thought, this is ridiculous. I'm an adult woman doing something to myself. I'm not entirely sure for what purpose, which makes me do things that are not me to people that I, you know, nowadays I wouldn't touch with a barge pole. You know, generally men. It wasn't particularly women that I would be upset with. But I have had arguments with friends or conversations with friends that I could not remember. My only saving grace was that I didn't go on Facebook when I was pissed, only because I had another friend who used to do the whole Facebook piss thing. And I was like the police for her. So I'd see it and be like, you need to get that off. you know, looking at the time, be like, yeah, you were pissed when you wrote that, get it off. So luckily I didn't do anything particularly publicly. But yeah, I was just a nightmare texter and cried a lot.
You were a deleter, weren't you, Lisa? But a deleter of photos. So Lisa would wake up and see all the photos, delete them, and then they didn't happen. Now, obviously, like you said, you know they happened, but they're gone. Whereas I saved everything because there's something seriously not quite right about me.
Alex has the best before and after pictures because she literally, but I think the difference was like the day after, Alex didn't really have like the anxiety or the, oh my God, what have I done? Whereas for me, it massively affected me. I was like you, Dawn, I couldn't even turn my phone over the next day because I was dreading what would be on it. And then the pictures and the,
yeah, I was really lucky. I don't know how I managed to avoid the pictures so much.
You've got some good ones though. You have got some good ones.
Oh my God, the before one. But because I was so overweight, I avoided being in photos. So the reason that before photo became so prominent was because we were in fancy dress. So obviously people had taken photos. But before that, I mean, at my 40th, there's only one clear photo, which is horrendous. And the rest are all really blurry, or I'm not in them because I was deliberately avoiding being in them because of my weight. And that was another reason why I gave up, because I was like, you know, this is ridiculous. I'm avoiding being in photos, which, you know, if you're that bad that you're avoiding a memory of it, then you need to get rid as well. So there was lots of different reasons why I came to the decision to give up, because I was just being a douche, really.
Oh. So you didn't actually give up with the intention of giving up forever, did you?
No, I gave up for a year. I mean, I I was a party animal. I was, you know, up there. I was always the first person at a party, always the last person to leave. I had no children. I had no partner. I had no responsibilities. I had no one saying, you've had enough. No one saying it's time to go home. And I do think that was part of the problem, you know, if I'd had responsibilities, but then I was hanging out with people that did have responsibilities and they were still up with me. Do you know what I mean? So whether it would have made a massive difference, although I wouldn't have been good at coping the next day with kids at all. I wasn't. I would just lie around, and I was always sick. So I'd be sick all day. So who knows what would have happened if I'd lived a different life. But the hangovers were becoming worse, and I'm not a liar, but I started to make stuff up that I was busy on a Saturday night because I knew the Friday night would be so bad that I wouldn't be able to go out Saturday night. And so rather than admitting that my hangover was lasting all day and onto the evening, I'd say I was busy so that I wouldn't have to do anything. And then this article just popped up in my newsfeed. I hadn't Googled sober, I hadn't thought about sober, or maybe Facebook knew I did, but this article popped up and it was before and after photos, which is ironic because that's kind of the way that my blog went, not intentionally. And these people had given up alcohol for a year, and I was literally like, oh my God. I mean, I don't normally look at articles that pop up in my newsfeed either. It was really, really weird. And I looked at it and they just looked amazing. And I didn't think I looked like shit. I thought I looked perfectly all right, which obviously looking at the photos, I didn't. But it was their skin, their eyes, and they'd lost weight. And for me, the weight was the biggest issue because I was the heaviest I've ever been. When I weighed in 6 weeks after I'd become sober, I was shocked. I was like 2 stone heavier than I thought I was. And something had to be done. And I was also a smoker, and I only smoked when I drank. Like I could go a week without a cigarette, but the minute I had a glass of wine, I had a packet of 20 fags, and I'd drink the wine and smoke the fags. So I knew that by giving up alcohol, it would help on the weight front. And I knew that giving up alcohol would help on the cigarette front. And I just thought, why not? I just thought, you know, if I invest a year of my life, actually, is it that long really in the grand scheme of things? I knew I could do dry January because I'd done that every year, and the 1st of February was a write-off. So I knew it had to be longer than that. And I also knew to lose weight, it would take longer. than just a month or just 3 months. And so I just thought, I'm going to do a year. And once I'd decided that, I then started telling people. But I tended to tell people when I was pissed, so people weren't really listening. And I'd set the target of New Year's Eve to do Sober for 2017, which was the original name of my blog. And some people ask me, was that a good thing to set a date? Because my belief now is, if you're thinking about it, just do it, don't wait. And I can't answer the question as to why I decided to wait, because I saw the article, I think in August 2016. But then things got taken out of my hands because I got really ill in November. I got flu, and I was literally wiped out. And I didn't smoke and I didn't drink. I couldn't. I mean, I was delirious. I was in here with a million other people. Like, it was just the most awful illness. So I didn't smoke and drink for 2 weeks. And we were coming up to Christmas then. So it was like mid-December. And I had to make the decision, do I pick up the drink and the fags for 2 weeks until the 31st of December? Or do I go with the fact that I'm 2 weeks clean of both things? Like, it's just a bit ridiculous to think of picking up a cigarette when you've done 2 weeks without. So I decided to carry on, and that's how my date became the 27th of November. So by the time I got to the 1st of January, I already had 6 weeks in the bag. But at that point, I started to think, oh God, what have I done? A year is a really long time. Yeah. Because I've technically done the equivalent of dry January, and now I'm going into January. But January was good because other people then jumped on board. So I wasn't on my own. So that got me through January. So then I was steaming towards 3 months. And by then I was doing the blog, and I joined Club Soda. So I was, in touch with different people. So that it kind of snowballed from there, really. And by the time I got to 6 months, I decided I was never going back.
So I was just going to ask that as a question. When did you decide you were never going back? So it was 6 months. And what was it that kind of made you think, that's it, I'm done? Was it mental health, physical health?
Oh God, just everything. Well, I'd lost a lot of weight. I think I'd lost probably about 3.5 stone by then. I hadn't smoked. So I'd achieved what I wanted to achieve. But by then sobriety had become so much more about what size I was, and that I was a non-smoker and a non-drinker. The blog just went crazy, so I had a real focus, and my writing became really popular, so that was really great. And the blog was called Sober for 2017, and so I suddenly thought, I have to make a decision, because if I'm writing for 2017 and I intend to take it further, it needs to change. And for me, it was that point that because I had to say to the world, I'm not going to drink again. And so I changed the name of it, which was a faff on Facebook, as everything is. I can't remember what happened. I don't think it worked properly, or something happened. And it was like, well, maybe I'm making the wrong decision. And then it came up and it said, you successfully changed the name. And I was like, fuck, what have I done? I've now deliberately said to the world, I'm not going to drink again. And it's really scary, because you suddenly think, but what if I fancy one, and or what am I going to do? What am I going to do at Christmas? What am I going to do on birthdays? And so for a while I was a little bit uneasy, because I was just like, I'm not sure I've done the right thing here. But it cemented it for me, and everything that I've done since I've got sober is by telling other people has cemented the journey going forward. So
it's good. I think you've been amazing. Can we talk about the name Soberfish just briefly? There might not be anything behind it, but I've invented so many stories about where that's come from. So would you share?
Well, so I was called Fish at school because of Fishwife, and because I had a big gob, and because I was so loud. So my friend named me, and so then I was just known as the Fish. And then I can't remember the whole sober fish part of it. It was just because I was the fish and I became sober. But then everybody thought it was because you drink like a fish.
That's
and
what
now
I thought it was.
drink like a fish, which I thought, oh my God, I'm cleverer than I thought, because there was nothing to do with that.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, no, all the size of my mouth.
I actually love the fact that you've just gone back to a nickname, because the beginning of this podcast, which you weren't even part of, was about school nicknames. So we've done full circle by accident.
Amazing.
There we are. That's genius. We're cleverer than we thought.
So tell us about the Soberfish Society, because that then obviously came from your sobriety and your blog.
Yeah. So I had a full-time job and I was doing the blog, and the blog was only ever supposed to be, I just imagined it was going to track my weight loss. And because I'd seen these before and after photos, what I wanted, it was really nothing to do with alcohol particularly. It was more that I was pissed off at being so fat. And so I wanted to show, I had this vision that on the 31st of December, I'd be there in a dress, New Year's Eve, glass of Prosecco in my hand, by a clock. I don't know whose clock or where I was supposed to be, but the clock would go to midnight and I'd put the drink down, and that would be my before photo. That was always the plan. And then when that obviously didn't happen, the before photo ended up being a fancy dress photo. So then I just wanted to take photos, but I was so embarrassed of myself that I wasn't taking selfies and stuff. So the photos kind of went out the window, and the writing kind of took over, and the writing became the cathartic part of it, because it was kind of like whatever I was feeling, if I put it into my phone and then put it out there, and then there was other people that felt the same. And then I started getting messages from people saying, I feel the same as you, because I don't identify myself as an alcoholic because I wasn't physically dependent. But I had a problem with alcohol, and I would continue to have a problem with alcohol if I picked it up tomorrow. So because I kind of came out in that respect, I then started getting messages from people saying, well, I don't think I'm an alcoholic, but I drink too much. But I did a stupid thing at the weekend. I've really upset my husband. I've really upset my children. So I realized that I was kind of attracting people who weren't at that end of the spectrum, or that end of the spectrum is kind of middle ground, which I guess is grey area drinking now. And then I opened, the blog was always public, but it doesn't travel very far on its own. And so I started sharing my work on other people's sites, like Club Soda, who were really kind and let me do that. And then from there, I was attracting more and more people. So it kind of got bigger. And then I started not struggling as such, but doing a full-time job and then managing the blog. It was just taking up all of my time. And so I had to think of some way to monetize, to allow me the time to give to people, because I was getting so many messages. I was literally like responding to messages all of the time.
Yeah.
And you feel guilty if you don't respond to messages, because you know how desperate people are, but you've also got a life, and you've also got family, and you've also, well, when we were allowed to see people, you've got other stuff going on. And it kind of got to the point that if I left the blog for an hour, I had so many messages when I came back, I was then spending 2 hours trying to catch up. Anyway, you know the drill. So I had to think of a way to monetize it. And the one thing that created a problem for my followers was that because the page was public, if they said things, everybody could see it.
Yeah.
But another glitch of Facebook is that once you've decided to go down that route, which I needed to share my message, you can't go back. So you can't make it a private group after it's been public. So I used to get complaints from people saying, wow, your group's not private. And I thought, well, actually, maybe I need to offer another product for, you've got the blog, which is public. I'm not responsible for anything you write on there, but if you want to join a private group, then you can. And this is quite amusing, because I naively thought that loads of the free people would come to the private group. I literally thought they'd be bang up for that. They weren't. So that, it's all been a learning curve. I've never done this shit before. I didn't know, I didn't know that this is what happened with blogs, and I didn't know how to manage a group. But then once you start doing things, you realize that you've learned a lot of skills being sober, that actually, from being part of groups like Club Soda, I'd learned how to respond to people in a way that possibly drunk me would have been like, shut up, move on, like probably not be very empathetic. But I kind of learned that people need empathy, and people need someone that understands, and that actually I was more understanding than I gave myself credit for. And also I had something which other people wanted, and other people wanted to know how the party animal who stayed up all night could stay sober in a world that was so obsessed with alcohol. So yeah, so I set up FFS, which is the Fish Followers Society, and then that was all fine and ticking away. And then Jojo wrote to me, Jojo Bailey, actually on my 3rd soberversary when I was in Vietnam, and she said, do you fancy doing something together? And it's funny, isn't it, because I guess you get lots of requests, but you get lots of requests from people, and there's some people that you just go yes to without thinking.
Yeah.
And I just went, yeah. And you know, I didn't know her. I mean, I knew of her, we'd met, but I didn't know anything really. But there was something inside that was like, oh my God, this is it. And from that, we've set up Sober Challenges, which we've now been running. We started in January. Well, actually, that's a lie. We did a tester in December 2019. And then our official one started January last year. And we're now, Challenge 24 starts on Saturday.
I actually saw that you've got another challenge coming up, because you do that quite frequently, don't you? You run these challenges within your group, yeah. and people jump on board. And what's that like? Do you get a big uptake of those, or?
So the reason why you probably see them quite a lot is because, again, these weren't planned. We made them up in our heads. We were like, why don't we just do this? So the first one was 21 days, £21. And if you were successful, you got your money back. And we kind of looked back at that going, what were we doing? You know, we're basically working for free. But it gave us the confidence to go forward with it. And so what we do now is we do them in blocks of 25. So if they do a 25-day challenge, on day 26, we set up another challenge that those people can either come on or new people come on. So it's a bit like, you know, it's a rolling thing. And again, if lockdown hadn't happened, I would question whether we'd be, because we haven't had a break, as I'm sure you guys haven't. You know, yeah. We've had no holiday, we've had no day off. We've just been working the whole way through, and our messenger threads are 24-hour threads. So, you know, obviously we sleep, but, you know, we've just kept it going because it's been necessary. You know, it's been a lifeline, as I know your group has as well. And I mean, at the beginning of lockdown, I had a massive dip where people did start drinking again.
Yeah.
Then people came back and were like, oh my God, I don't know what I was doing. You know, I just lost it for a while there, but I'm back. Then we had another dip. So it kind of dips at the beginning of these lockdowns and then it picks back up again. But our success rate on the last round was 85%. So we were really, really chuffed with that.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, when you consider that people who go through AA, the success rate is about 5%, isn't it?
I know when you think about that. But, you know, we believe that it's very collective and we're very into energy, and that the group holds itself together. And it's totally worked for us, and we will continue for as long as it's a success. You know, we're just taking it each challenge as it comes, really. Obviously, we will go on holiday at some point.
I don't know when or how. We say that, what we're going to do, you know, we say the same thing. Like, thankfully, there are 3 of us and we can kind of jump in each other's shoes. But you're also massively involved in William Porter's group as well, though, aren't you? I didn't even realise this till the other day, but you are.
Yeah, I'm a moderator over there. Only because I said to him, I'm on my phone all the time. You know, having gone from being scared of it, now it just doesn't leave my side. But I'm always just looking around. And again, you know, I suppose from what I've just said, you know, I kind of look at posts and think, oh, I don't know about that. Or, well, I think that's okay. And so I've kind of taught myself to moderate, I guess. And I just said to him, if you need a hand, yeah, which is always interesting.
I love that group. It just makes me laugh. Your posts are fantastic, always really inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
And William's just, honestly, I've never ever known anybody, he just does not take any shit, does he? He's
just just like,
It
yeah, you
is.
feel like that because you're drunk. That's it. There's no explanation in between. Stop looking round. You've not got a disease. You've drunk alcohol. You've drunk poison. What do you expect?
And he's like, read the book or out.
I know. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I thought I was the bluntest person in Britain. But no, there he is. But do you know what? That's what I like about it, is there, you know, I get a lot of stick because I'm so black and white. You know, for me, it's, are you putting your all into it? Right, let's go, let's do it. And that will work for some people and it won't work for others. And I think that's one of the things you learn in these groups. And I will always be learning because I take everything so personally. I always think, oh God, it's me, I've done something. But it's, you know, people's journeys take them in different directions, and not everybody that comes through my door is going to like my way. Same with William Porter. You know, if you get an answer, but he doesn't seem to, what I like about him is he doesn't seem to piss anybody off.
No, he doesn't.
He never does he? Like, he can be as blunt as anything, but no one ever goes, oh, that was a bit harsh. They just go, okay, I'll go and read the book.
I think it's because there's zero emotion on it, though. There's zero. He never sort of says, you're making me feel, or he just goes like, it's poison. If you drink it, you're going to be ill. You're going to get addicted. Read the book or get out of the group.
Have you watched any of his Friday Night Lives?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I mean,
we're on this Friday with him.
Oh, is it you?
Yeah.
I missed what he said right at the end. Oh my God! I mean, Friday nights at 8 o'clock have never been so good. Again, so grateful for lockdown, because I'm literally like, I'm busy at 8. My mum used to invite me around for dinner. I'd be like, I need to be home for 8 because I've got to watch it. It's just the comments and stuff. And last week was an absolute classic, because I kind of wait for him to smile, and because it doesn't happen very often. And you know when it does, that he knows that he said something that has come out and he didn't expect it to come out that way. And then the comments start. It's just absolutely amazing. Oh, good. I'll be watching this Friday.
Do you remember the one? Well, I know you will. It's stupid. Where he was silent for 40 minutes. Your comments, Dawn, I was on there watching as well. And your comments were classic, but then reading other people's of saying, oh, he's really nice to look at. Look what a handsome guy he is. He was getting literally crushed on just for being silent and speaking. And it was the funniest thing.
The perfect
it was wasn't it? Huh?
Is that not the perfect man, though?
Yeah, shut up and look nice.
Yeah.
The thing was, though, we were all messaging him, and because he was so focused, like, he obviously didn't even look at his phone or anything, and we were all just like, William, and wasn't that the one that he'd actually put his real name on there as well, in the corner?
In the corner, he had Sam.
So I'm messaging him going, not only are you stupid, like, you're mute, and now you've put your real name on there, and for 45 minutes, you're not responding to anything. And of course, people are like, what? Why is that name in the corner? What's that name? And it's just like, oh God, this is just horrendous.
It was funny.
And then, but so excited to see what happened. And then he just went, oh, doesn't look as though you've been able to hear me. I'll do it again tomorrow.
It was the way he did that made it so brilliant, because he didn't actually care. He just smiled and went, oh yeah, what an idiot. I'll do it again tomorrow.
Fazed by anything, is he? I just think. But that's because he doesn't have a voice in his head, I reckon.
I do. Do you know about that, Dawn?
No.
He don't.
He doesn't have a voice.
He doesn't think, but that's not the word.
He doesn't think with a voice.
Having a conversation in our head, he doesn't hear conversations in his head.
Really?
Yeah. Ask him about it.
It's so weird. I'm like, well, how do you think? If you can't like hear it, how do you think?
He said, I just have thoughts. I just think things and then I do them. And I was like, but you've not got any debate, or like, I've got thousands of people in here.
Oh, me too. Me too.
He doesn't have it. He doesn't have an inner voice. And ask him. And I actually did some research, because I'm a bit of a science geek myself. I did some research afterwards, right? And not that I'm calling William a science geek, but he is. I went on, and it's a real thing. There's a percentage of the population that actually don't have an inner voice, and he's one of them. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I was only saying yesterday, you know, there's certain things I do every day, like going for a walk every day, just to shut that voice up, you know, just to shut it up, because otherwise it goes on all day long and I just can't bear it. So I just do all my stuff in the morning so that I can have a nice day. But maybe it's an imagination thing.
That's what
he hasn't got in it. So he hasn't got it.
I just wonder if he's more literal, like, because we all, I believe that we have this voice in our head, but it's not like we're here. Like you can hear it, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but no, I'm literal, and I still have a voice that goes, should we do this or should we do that? I still have a voice. He
Yeah,
does
but
not
I think
have
he's
one.
expecting a voice like mine and your voice.
No, he isn't.
right now.
Honestly, he isn't. I've messaged him about this. He does not have any. He doesn't even hear his own voice.
Well, I don't know how he thinks. He must just speak what comes out of his mouth. He's a robot. He's an actual robot.
He clearly does, because
Maybe
like
he's an
Dawn said,
actual
he
robot.
smiles. He clearly does just speak what he thinks, because like Dawn said, occasionally a little smile pops up and he's like,
Oh,
he
it's
said
the
that.
smile. Like last week, yeah,
What?
there was something, I can't remember what he said last week, something about not rewarding yourself by putting something in your mouth. And then he went, and I was literally guffawing. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that. I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because he's just talking and you can't do anything. It's a bit like, I don't know if you belong, but Clubhouse. Have you heard about Clubhouse?
I know about Clubhouse. We've not set it up yet, though. Yeah.
You're not on. You're not on there. I'll send you an
Yeah.
invite.
Clubhouse.
Send you an invite, and
Okay.
it's amazing. But when you go into a room there, they say hello to you, but you're powerless. You can't say anything, and it's a bit like that on his lives. It's like, because you can absolutely belly laugh, and he knows nothing, does he? And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that.
No, it's true. Clubhouse, one of our ambassadors wanted to set it up, Lisa.
It was really easy, but
Oh,
it's
is it?
great. It's great.
We'll need to have a look at it. Invite us, Dawn. Invite us.
Yeah, no, I will.
Yeah, we'll have a look.
I need your
Yeah.
phone numbers actually. So send me 1 or 2 phone numbers, because have you got iPhone?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's iPhone only, but you need phone numbers. So
We'll
yeah,
get
we'll
that
sort it
across.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Quite like being part of a clubhouse. It might, no, see what I mean? There's something wrong with me.
out. If you haven't got enough to do, it's just another fantastic distraction.
Oh,
It
brilliant.
fills up
Yeah.
the last few hours that you thought you had to yourself. That's what it basically does.
Oh, I'm excited.
Oh, I'm not. You'll find things to do with it, and we'll have a whole new vein of something going on now.
It is a whole new vein.
Oh
It is
no, I
a
don't know
whole
whether
new
I'm ready
vein.
yet then.
You are.
There's a lot going on right now.
Tell us, I know we're kind of coming towards the end of the time, but tell us about your walks, because they fascinate me, because you do a live, do you still do that every morning into your group alive?
I do, yeah. So I got into walking, I think I'd been 6 months sober. I lost a friend and I decided to do 10,000 steps a day in her memory, but not for charity, just for my own satisfaction. And it was May and it was nice weather and I was like walking to work and stuff like that. And I really enjoyed it. And so I joined something called Race at Your Pace, which is where you can set yourself a certain amount of miles per month. And so then I divvy it up and I knew how many miles I'd have to do each day. So I think I picked 200 miles, which was the maximum, which is roughly 7 miles a day, I think.
Wow.
And if you lie there going, I can't be arsed, it's raining, you're then going to have to divvy up that 7 miles over another period of time. Do you see what I mean? So it got me out of bed because I was like, I don't want to be doing 14 miles at the weekend or an extra mile a day because I do it all before work. So I just have about enough time to do, I think 6 miles now. I do sometimes. I don't know, lockdown's kind of changed things a bit because of work and all the rest of it. So I did Race at Your Pace for 3 months and then the habit was just there. So yeah, I walk every day. I do a minimum of 4 to 5 miles and I do 6 to 7 miles if I'm not working and if I go to the beach and it's a nice day and it's not pissing down the rain or freezing cold. But it's just basically kept my weight in check because I didn't do that much exercise before. And I just find it great for my mind because I'm always so busy. I know everybody says they're busy, but you know, sometimes you just need to take yourself away from the computer, away from the phone, away from my members, away from like everyone. And I got into listening to Audible and podcasts. I never listened to podcasts before. So yeah, just basically finding something. So I like the thought that I'm listening to something that's teaching me something at the same time as getting exercise. So by the time I sit at my desk, I'm like wise and fit.
And you actually now use it to go in and do a live in the group as well?
Yeah, so I tried doing lives like sitting like this. I just can't bear it. Like I've done a couple of lives on my Facebook page on my own, like sitting like this, and you're like looking at your eyes and looking at your hair and looking at the fact I've still got my washing hang up, and you know, it's just really distracting talking to yourself. And some of the first lives that I did just on my phone walking, and I remember people were saying, "Oh, can't you just sit still?" And you know, I can't watch you when you're walking around. And I just thought, so then you take it personally, don't you, going, oh, I better not do that. But then I was like, that's where I'm comfortable, and I'm not thinking about what I look like. I mean, I do these lives every day. I've had no shower, haven't washed my hair, look like shit. This morning I realized that my moisturizer in the rain was dripping off my face in white globules down my coat. So I was like, oh my God, maybe that's been happening for like 4 years and I've never realised that it's dripping white.
I'm melting.
And I just basically, it just depends. I don't think about what I'm going to say. I just talk about my day. And if I get inspired by something, or, you know, they're not always inspirational. They're just really just a little hello. And then there'll be the occasional wise moment. But a lot of people take a lot from it. A lot of people go for their walks whilst watching me, or you know, it will inspire a lot of people to get moving, because I just say it's only bloody water, you know, you're only going to get wet, and the getting dry bit, amazing, isn't it? Shower and you know, I just love that bit.
Right, it's walking in any weather can be all right. It can be quite enjoyable if you're warm enough, if you've got the right clothing on. I know that sounds obvious, but like when I'm out and about and I see people and I think, oh, if you just had thermals on, you'd be so much more relaxed.
Yeah. I mean, I've spent a lot of money now on proper coats.
Yeah.
Which for the last 4 years I haven't had a proper coat. I've just been bloody freezing. So, and this morning I was thinking, this coat really is windproof, because I was fine in the body bit and everything else was like absolutely drenched, dripping, you know. But I was like, yeah, it really is windproof. But you're totally right. But then that's another thing that's changed, is my whole wardrobe and stuff. Like I hated trainers. Now I'm like, you know, I need decent trainers to walk in. I don't wear thermals. I just wear leggings, and I wear old tops. So as like this top will eventually be something I walk in. So I kind of recycle that when it's had its day normally, then I wear it. So I don't spend money on that. But definitely a good coat, definitely good footwear, good hats, gloves. But yeah, you know, and just always I'll go out with the gloves and then be like, oh, I'm too hot, or with the hat, I'm too hot.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just as long as you can take stuff off.
Slowly getting undressed as you walk.
Yeah. But you're totally right. But I will walk further when I'm dressed properly. Like if it's a nice spring day that's not too hot, not too cold, I can walk for miles. But if I'm too hot or too cold, I just like, I just get it done, because it's good for me, it's good for my health, and I just know that it's something I have to do every day.
You know, when I hear something like this, I want to do it straight away, right? And I'm itching.
I just knew it. I can see her. Look at her rocking.
I'm rocking. I'm itching, thinking my walk weren't long enough this morning. I've got a real good audio right at the moment, and I'm ready. You're just going to see me going.
Do you know what, Dawn? Honestly, she's the most fidgety person in the world. And when somebody suggests something she doesn't like, you can see her change and go, oh, forget that. And when somebody suggests something she does like, she's up, and you can see. And I just looked across and I thought, she wants to go for a walk.
She's raring to go.
I could see
You do need something good to listen to. When I first started, have you heard of S-Town? The podcast S-Town? Oh my God. That'll keep you going. So when I first got into podcasts, I was listening to things that were a series. So you'd listen to the first episode. You go, I'm going out for half an hour. I'll be back in half an hour. And you'd listen to the first episode, and then you'd go, I just watch one more. It's like the binging of the audio world. And I would walk for like 14, 15 miles going, I've just listened to one more. I just listened to one more. So I love getting something like that just encourages you to keep moving.
One of
What's
our
that called?
members said that S-Town, I've got it written down. One of our members said that she'd gone out and she'd been listening to a book that was quite deep and heavy, and she just said, oh, I couldn't listen to it, I'd had enough. So I thought, I'll just give you a podcast to go. She said, and 6 hours later I was still walking. I was like, yes, we've definitely cracked it.
I mean, I do that. I must admit, your podcast I've only started listening to recently, and I don't really know why. I don't know what. So I've got loads, but I love that when you've got loads of material to listen to, because then it would just, I'll just listen to another one. You know, the alcohol-free pod. I just binged all of those, and now they're not doing another one for. I think they're doing it in spring, and I'm like, come on. So I like to keep a bank of them now.
You do that, don't you, Lisa? Lisa makes us, it's never me that takes the break on the podcast, and Lisa says, let's just take a break, give people a rest, they'll want to hear more, they'll look forward to it. So I really think they're going to enjoy listening to this. I was really excited about this because I remember on the sober sessions, when you came on the sober sessions back, that was a while ago now, back in the summer.
It was summer, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was like you were such a breath of fresh air, and you've got such kind of a direct but positive way about you. So we were both really excited to get you on our own podcast. I can't believe it's been so long. I can't believe we haven't.
I know.
And we've done nothing. Well, we have. We've done stuff, but we've not actually done anything.
We've changed a lot of lives. That's what we've done from the comfort of our own homes.
See, this is where I don't get things, and I've just had 5 voices going, what does she mean we've done nothing? Like, what would William do in that situation? He'd just go, yeah, we've done things. You not think about that?
Now I'm going to be thinking that when I have my thoughts, I'm going to go, so he thinks nothing like this.
Honestly, Dawn, it took me about a week after we'd spoken about it. Every time I had a thought and I was consciously aware of it, I thought, what would William do now? And then I realised I was getting obsessed with what William would do. Like, what would William do? So I asked him. So I started to ask it. Honestly, ask him.
That could be his next book. What?
Yeah. How to think without thinking.
Do? No, just what would William do?
Well, I suppose you've got to be a pretty, what's the word, unique person to write the books like he does.
Yeah.
Without having a medical background.
Yeah.
And being so, what's the word, influential. Because when you think somebody's gone to university for a long time to write a book like that. But
Alex is like that, yeah, me.
Like me. And Nick's everything. No, to be fair to him, honestly, and my degree is in science. That is my degree. You can't find, and I will be dead straight, you cannot find fault in what William says in his book. I've read them, and I've picked them apart, and it is factual, it is accurate. He knows his stuff without having to do a degree. Yeah, in that.
Yeah,
because he's an intelligent man, isn't he? He's clearly an intelligent man who doesn't have thoughts. We're back there.
Just think about that.
Yeah, oh God. Honestly, don't it open a can of worms? Like,
I'm going to be Googling it straight after this.
There's an article, I bet you come across the article about it, and if I find it, I'll try and share it, because there is more than William, which is fascinating. Yeah. Somebody on your friends list that will say, oh, I'm like that. And you'd be like, that's weird.
I know my mum always says about when you think of, what is it she says? When you think of words, you think of colours. So, and it is a thing. So if you think, think of computer, she'll think of a colour.
Really? It's so weird, isn't it?
I know. But until you start speaking about it, you don't realise that other people have got it. Like for example, days of the week. If I said to you Monday, what do you think of a colour?
No, that's really good. I saw the word Monday.
Oh, you see, I think red. Tuesday green, Wednesday yellow, Thursday brown, Friday black. So
that is weird.
Oh, right. What have you just started? When you asked William about this, right, he honestly only realised that other people do have thoughts when we found out he didn't. Ask him. Honestly, it was on a live. Was it on the sober sessions, Lisa?
Yeah, I think so.
It was on a live, and we just went about thoughts, and he went, I don't get that. And we were like, what? What do you mean? He's like, no, I didn't even know you lot would get that. It's the same as that. Like, why do you have colours with days?
I don't know. But I can think of it, that's an example. so some people, so if you look it up, I can't remember what the word is for it, but it's got a word that you attach a colour to a word.
Wow.
There
And
you
some
go.
people
Mind blowing.
don't have imaginations. Like a friend of mine says she can see things like, so you know, if you're doing a meditation and they say imagine you sat on a beach and the seas in
I
front
can't
of
do
you,
that.
sun and what, you can't see that?
No, I can't see that.
Dawn? Like, could you imagine yourself at a beach?
No, I
Well,
see me sat there. I come from up here, so like when I do that, I look down at me on a beach, so I can't get in my own body. Honestly,
Not a bad thing, actually. You're probably
Yeah,
more
you
like
see-
that than you think.
I've done a couple of shamanic meditations, which are very interesting. Have you done those, Lisa?
I have done a shamanic one,
I
yeah.
can't even spell
I did two, and it's like you know, and the sun's coming. You're in a woods, and the sun's coming through the trees. The thing is that when you're thinking about that, everybody in the room is obviously thinking a different kind of scene.
Yeah.
And then they say to you, as you go, you might see an animal. And that's your spirit animal, and I'm like, oh, this is a load of shit.
Oh, see, I just had a
This is-
squirrel going past.
I had a
where
squirrel, but I'm not in it. I saw a squirrel, but I am not in there. I'm not in the woods. I'm floating up here looking at me and squirrels. I swear to God.
Well, I had a snake, and it was curled up. It was a green snake, and it was curled up, and then it had, you know, like that kind of arrow-shaped head. That's
Yeah.
a really poisonous snake, I think, isn't it? But it wouldn't look at me. Would not look at me. I was trying to look at it. It wouldn't look at me. Anyway, we go through the whole thing, and then we finish at the end. And she goes, oh, what did you see? And people are like, oh, I saw a eagle flying. And I'm like, oh, I get a fucking snake.
An
I
ignorant
saw a
snake at that.
wolf. I saw a panther, and then someone else was like, I had a panther, and that went in, that came into my, and I was like, this is just like a load of rubbish. And they said, anybody else? And I went, well, I saw a snake. I had a snake, and it wouldn't look at me. And everyone in the room like went, you had a snake? This was like quite early on in my journey, probably in my first year. And they were like, you had the snake? And I was like, yeah, but it wouldn't look at me. And they were like, stop being so obsessed that it wouldn't look at you. Basically, the snake is the serpent, which is the shedding of skin. It's the most powerful animal that you can have.
Yeah.
And the reason why it wouldn't look at me was because I wasn't willing to look at myself. It's the mirror.
Oh, wow.
So I had like the
What
most
can you
powerful thing in the
people?
room.
Well, you know what? I feel really shitty now because I had a squirrel.
I saw a squirrel. Maybe we weren't that involved then. Like, I saw the beautiful sun come through the trees and I could see the leaves, and then it was just a little squirrel that went past, like.
Have a look, no, but look it up, because it will mean something.
And as
Yeah,
it passed on
definitely.
snake, she ate it. Oh God! Yeah, no, honestly, it's, we could have a whole new podcast on just what thoughts are. I think we should definitely do one. It's amazing.
What colour, it could be called What Colour is Monday?
Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that is amazing. That the colours. I wonder where that comes from. I'm going to make a word up for it anyway. It's like chromophonics. They're Latin words, aren't they? They'll do.
I'll have a look afterwards. God,
Yeah,
we're going to be
definitely.
messaging today with all these different things.
I want to go walk and find out what my squirrel means. So
You tell me what your squirrel means afterwards, and I'll send on our numbers so that we can get
Yeah.
it well sorted. All right,
Oh,
well,
Get
John,
sorted.
so lovely.
yeah, it has. Please, will you let us know what William says about his thoughts, just so you can.
I don't have an answer for that.
Oh,
Is there something else I can help with?
there he is.
Oh, he said he doesn't have an answer for that. Is there something else that he could help with?
You can't make that up, can you?
My Surrey's tried getting in on this conversation.
It is. It is.
Right.
Oh.
I can't wait to speak to you. Oh, stop it now. I'm going. Right.
Thanks so much, Dawn. Honestly, it's been an
Thank
absolute
you.
pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
No, I really have. I was looking forward to catching up with you, so it's been great.
Oh, thanks so much, and we'll speak to you again soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.